Welcome to Filmmakers.
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 Hey, the Filmmakers.
Journey.
Take your seat. The journey of a lifetime is about to begin.
You are not a filmmaker, but you're part of this film business. International sales, correct? For Film Nation?
That's exactly right. Yep.
So just give me a little rundown how you got to that point where growing up, what college you went to, how you got to be the vice president of international sales for Film Nation.
Yeah, sure. So I took a path that's pretty non-traditional to get to where I am. I think that most people in the film business, 90+%, knew that's what they wanted to do. They knew that there was nothing else that would satisfy them more than being involved in some way, either making films themselves or being involved in some way. I'm the exception to that. I'm a big fan of film. I love movies, but it wasn't my path. So I took a very circuitous route. I studied history as a college undergrad. That's what my degree was in. I went to Harvard.
Flex on us real quick.
Well, I mean, you asked. I usually don't. I typically don't work that in, but I thought I was going to do public policy work in government. Moved to DC. A couple of years later, I pivoted and decided I wanted to go to business school. So then I started a second career, which was in business. I did a couple of startups that were tech oriented, sort of media tech oriented. But all along, I had stayed in touch with an old friend of mine who had gone into the film business. And so I really came into it on the business end because he had been in the business for 10 or 15 years and wanted to start his own company. This is the company that is now Film Nation. His name is Glenn Basner.
That's the guy who won Sundance, right?
Well, no. Sorry, the story is complicated, but Glenn and I were high school friends with another guy who were all good friends, even from younger than high school. That was Eddie Burns. Eddie was passionate. He wanted filmmaking was what he wanted to do. Actually, writing and directing, less so than acting, but he's become quite an actor. And Eddie won Sundance. He wrote, directed, produced a movie called The Brothers McMullen, which won the grand prize, I want to say back in 95, 96. I can't quite remember. But he got Glenn into the business. I, at that time, was going to business school. I didn't get involved. But then Glenn got into the industry. 10 or so years later, he wanted to start his own thing. I helped him get it off the ground. That's how I got in. So it's a very non-traditional route. And sort of I came in as a mid-career business person.
Nice. Buddies from high school, grew up together. He ended up ended up helping him start Film Nation. That is insane. And now you're working international sales. So kind of just inform me of what's that job all entail and how does it affect filmmaking? How does it affect a production company?
Yeah, so let me back up a minute and give a little bit of a 101 about how films get made and financed, right? There's a couple of different models. One that people think about is, okay, a big studio or a streamer greenlights my movie. They love my script. They want to make it. They pay for everything. That's one model. And most movies don't get made that way, but a lot of them do. A lot of movies that get released theatrically, are studios of some type. But again, that's not most movies. Most movies get made independent of the studio system. So that's what they call independent movies. Now, there's more than one way of financing an independent movie. Again, by far the largest amount is people just raising money,
Yeah,
getting people to
crowdfunding.
put equity into their movie, asking friends and family, maxing out their credit cards, shooting it on their iPhone, making it happen. That's
Yeah.
by far the biggest, um, number of movies get made that way. There's this other little slice in between those two models, which is what we do, which is finance of independent film primarily using international pre-sales. So I'll step back even further. In the 80s and 90s, 90% of the worldwide box office was in the United States. Like that's where all the tickets
90%?
were sold. I think it was at least 80%. You could check my numbers. We could do this offline. I was actually looking something up. I had done some research on this many years ago, but let's just say it's 80%. And over time, again, this is the American movie companies, both the studios and independents, realized that there was a great appetite outside the United States for movies,
There's a lot of other
and
countries.
so well, other countries. So not only English speaking countries, but elsewhere in the world. And so now the world box office is probably majority outside the US. It's probably 60% international, 40% domestic instead of 20/80. And and that doesn't mean that the US box office shrunk. It just meant the pie was growing. But that was also an opportunity because independent companies realized, wow, there's a real appetite for movies, and a lot of other countries didn't have their own domestic industries. So they would buy essentially American movies, indie movies. And they were so desperate for that product or to get access to those movies that they would buy those movies even before you made them. Certain types of movies, not all movies, but if you had a movie with a big director and a big actor and a solid premise, you could get a distribution company in different parts of the world to say, yeah, if you make that movie, I'm going to buy that movie. And that's really the business that I'm in, this what's called international pre-sales. So we take a movie and, well, it's not yet a movie. It's probably just a script,
A couple actors attached
director,
to it.
actors. Hopefully you have all of those things. You got a budget, you got a start date, you've got someone who's going to finance the movie because the pre-sales aren't going to do everything. But you've got something that looks like it's really going to go. It's a real project. It's not just a mirage. And those companies will pay you money up front and promise to pay you more money when you deliver the movie. And you can use that contract to. I should shut off my email notifications because they keep bleeping in.
No, that's all good.
But we use that contract to finance the movie. You borrow against the value of that contract. You borrow against the deposits that they put up front, and you can get half, maybe more, of your budget from pre-sales.
So,
That's what I do. Now, again, I think there's only a small slice of movies. Like, I know the audience here is mostly aspiring filmmakers, um, folks just learning about the business, although maybe some know more than others. But I'm giving them, sharing this background because it's important to know about it. But it's not, certainly for first time filmmakers, it's not a path that's probably likely or viable.
yeah, very niche type of production. And so you're saying Film Nation's foundation is on international sales. Like that's how y'all basically run y'all. That's what makes y'all different from everyone else. And the fact that you're the vice president of international sales makes you very important to the company.
Well, it's one of the big engines, I would say, that drive our company. And to be clear, we're not the only company that does this. We're not the inventors of this approach. As I say, this started to come into real practice probably late 80s, early 90s. Companies like Miramax and others pioneered this approach. But it's something that we do well. Go ahead.
I was just saying, me and my friend were just talking about Titanic and how James Cameron had a set built in Russia, and he had a screening over there, and he got a really big Russian audience from people were flying in, come and see the movie. Was that? Did you ever hear that story? Was that any? Was he the pioneer of
I'm, I'm,
that?
I'm not familiar of it, but I mean, the film business is a widely international one. I'm focused more on the sales piece of it, but as you point out, you know, movies are made in all countries around the world.
Yeah,
You go where there's interesting sets or exteriors or backgrounds, or where you've got essentially cheaper costs to shoot a film. So many big studio films. I think I don't know if that was Fox or whoever did Titanic, but would shoot places where their money would go further. So that's also a little bit of what the international side of things does. Um, but I was going back to saying what Film Nation. We're not the only folks who do pre-sales, but we're I think one of the stronger companies who do that. But it isn't the only thing that we do. We're also a production company. We finance movies. We also do television production. We do some live theater. We do podcasting. So there's a range of things that uh, our little indie company does. But at the heart of it, and at the beginning, and what has been the through line, has been international sales.
yeah, and we talk about Film Nation a little bit more. Just this last Oscars, y'all pretty much swept the whole award show. Anora won like what, 7 or 8
I think it might have been
wins,
8, but again, you could fact check me.
and
But
then Conclave as
Best
well,
Picture, Mikey deserved it.
best
Sean Baker, of
screenplay.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk
So it
about
was
that. And
pretty.
obviously, you were involved with that. How did that all go? International sales.
Well, it's interesting. There's in the case of Honora, we had worked with Sean Baker on his previous movie, Red Rocket. That was made during COVID. It was made for a pretty low budget, and I think and it's a really good movie. It went to Cannes. We said to Sean that we would love to work with him again, and so we would find a way to get his next project financed.
Yeah.
In the case of Honora, it's I think a lot of folks are familiar. It's not the easiest, most commercial movie.
Yeah.
It's about a sex worker, um, and it didn't have big stars. Although
Nope.
Mikey is
Now
now
she
a
is.
much bigger star
Yeah,
than
for
she
sure.
was, but very talented. So that was a tricky movie to pre-sell. Now, Sean has made many excellent movies, from Florida Project and back to Tangerine and Red Rocket. So there are some buyers who believe in him and would always buy his movies. So, but for the most part, that movie was sold in the international side to Focus, to Universal.
Okay.
So that's sometimes a case where the specialty branch of a studio becomes the international buyer.
Yeah, I just feel like I mean, y'all are so genius with the marketing. I mean, they had billboards and all these different things, even like way after the movie came out. Was that a certain strategy? I've never seen that before. When you
So
market before the award season.
so the U.S. distributor was Neon, and again, I'm guessing you and most of the audience are based here in the States, and so the domestic distributor is the one who is responsible for the marketing campaigns for all of their, for the release of the movie. The producers are not necessarily part of that. There's sometimes what's the word, consulted. The filmmaker is sometimes consulted, but that's really driven by the distributor. And the distributor is also the one who is responsible for any awards campaigns. So that was really the work of Neon. Although again, as producers and co-producers along with um, with Sean and his team, um, we're the folks who are behind the marketing of that movie.
Yeah, I mean, Film Nation really has been on a roll. Y'all had Anora be a success. Y'all had Conclave be a success. Y'all had Life of Chuck come out this year with Tom Hiddleston and Mark Hamill and a big cast. How did Life of Chuck do this year?
We're very happy with the results so far. It's actually, as of today, I think it's out on premium VOD.
Okay.
So if folks missed that in the cinemas, you could rent it. It's been released in a couple of international territories already. France did well. Germany's coming out. I know Japan will be next year. So that's a movie that we pre-sold last year, and or maybe even the year before. But when it was premiered in Toronto last fall, it won the Audience Award. And so that's a case where audiences just love the movie. It's uplifting, it's positive, it's emotional. So we're proud of that one.
So you just mentioned it comes out in Japan next year,
Yep.
right? So how does that work? Why do different countries get it at different times?
Most typically
Mhm.
99% of the time, the US will go first.
Yeah.
There's a couple of reasons for that. One, as I say, it's still the biggest market in the world. We could talk about the China exception if we want to get into it, but really the U.S. drives the marketing. They spend the most. They make a campaign, and so a lot of countries will wait till the U.S. release. Actually, in many cases, they're contractually required to wait for the U.S. release. Again, partly because the U.S. pays the most, and they say we don't want someone releasing before us, and maybe their campaign will mess up our campaign, or they have to worry about piracy. So the rest of the world is typically held back against the US. And it's not really such a problem because, again, they benefit from all of the marketing that comes out of the US, even the social media chatter, um, and just the marketing spend. Then each country after the US. They could choose to go along at the same time as the US or at a different date that works for them based on competitive landscape, other releases in their territory, other things that are happening in their countries. Um, so, but most countries will release pretty close to the US. Japan is actually one of the exceptions. And part of this, two reasons for that. One is there's very little piracy in Japan. So unlike other countries, let's say Russia, Korea, once movies are out, they're immediately pirated and they're subtitled and people can find them. Japan doesn't really have that issue. The second thing is that they also have a pretty crowded um, theatrical circuit, and so there's you often have to wait in line till there'll be availability to get your film in a theatrical circuit, and so they wait for an optimal date.
Well, let me ask you a really important question. What airline do you fly?
The cheapest one that gets me from A to Z.
Okay, let's just Spirit. I know you ain't
You know
flying
what?
Spirit.
There must be there's a reason behind your question. I'm assuming.
Yes, there's a reason behind my question. Let's just say you fly American. Let's pay some patriotism to our country. I want to put you in this scenario. Get to know about you a little bit more. You're flying American, right? You're going. Let's say you come and visit me in Vegas, and the engine goes out, plane goes down, splits in half. You got a parachute. You got all the movies in the world. which movie are you taking on that abandoned island? Only one. It's going
All
down.
right.
You gotta hurry up. It's going down.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. No, I'm not gonna. I'm a sales guy, so I've got to negotiate here.
Okay.
Does this island have a cinema, or do I have a portable DVD player? What is my? Is it my phone? What am I?
You got a 55-inch TCL Roku TV with no internet, with a DVD player.
Yeah.
Think of rewatchability
Yeah.
here too.
Yeah. No, that's the critical part. I guess I'd go with The Godfather Part Two.
Good answer. Good answer.
It's long.
It's long.
There's a lot to it.
Yep. De
Yeah.
Niro.
That's what I'd go with.
I actually came home from Sicily. I got to do a little tour. I got to see where the bar was and the church and all that different things. So that was pretty cool. Because that's where my grandpa's from. So I got to see where he grew up. But yeah, I still haven't seen the second one yet. I need to watch that. I only seen the first one.
Oh my goodness, Warren!
My bad.
How
Yeah.
dare you?
I did watch The Offer though. You ever
Absolutely.
seen that show, The Making of The Godfather?
Oh, with Miles Teller, I
Yeah.
have not seen it.
You have seen it?
Yeah, I'd
It's
like
so
to see it.
good.
I have not. I
You
have not.
haven't? You need
Yeah,
to watch
I'd like
that
to
like
see it.
now.
I have not.
It's amazing.
Shame on me. Well, I mean, you missed Godfather too, so
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Another thing, you ever heard of the social media app Letterbox?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so like on Letterbox accounts, everyone has their top 4 films, right? And like a lot of people go with their favorite 4 or their highest rated 4. I usually go and just pick the 4 movies that kind of tells my movie taste and like who I am. So I just want to know if you could pick 4 films to, describe your movie taste of what you like growing up, which are some of your 4 favorite movies you would pick.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I think I'm considerably older than you, Warren. So, talking about growing up, I think my tastes have evolved and changed over time, and certainly being fortunate enough to do this for a living, I get to see a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Let's see. I already talked about The Godfather on my desert island, so I think that doesn't count. Um, I asked you the question about whether I had cinema or a TV. I watched um, Lawrence of Arabia for the first time, probably in the early 1990s on a VHS grainy TV. And that experience versus seeing it on 70 millimeter at my local cinema when they have the periodic
Throwback
revivals.
nights. Yeah.
Yeah, it's night and day. And so that is just a great movie, and it's rewatchable. I probably watch it every year, if not every 2 years. And it's just so good. And so that kind of gives you a little sense. Like, I like the sweeping epics. I like the historical movies. Um, that there's some real basis in what was going on. There's some injustice happening. There's the sweep of it all.
Yeah.
So that's a movie. That's probably it's hard to say what's your favorite movie, but that's one. Also a Star Wars nerd.
Yep.
Loved the first movie and the second movie and some of the other ones too.
It's my favorite movie
So I
of all time.
I enjoy that kind of space opera kind of thing. What else? I got to give a shout out to Film Nation's movie called Arrival.
Mm-hmm.
Just a smart, movie that makes you think and feel, and has a really interesting twist to it. If you haven't
I
seen
knew
that
you were
one,
picking a Film Nation movie.
oh, I have to.
I knew you had to
I loved
plug
Conclave
it.
this year. I could fill it with Film Nation movies,
Yeah.
and proudly so.
Got it. All right. Well, I mean, you threw Star Wars in there, so I have to respect you. I got my buddy in here, my production company partner, and he's never seen it. And I told him if we ever get paid
Oh, my
to
Lord.
sell a script, anything, He's got to watch Star Wars before we do anything with it. That's
That's
just
for
something you
sure.
got to watch, dude.
No, I know.
Yeah.
1977 Cut of New Hope is my favorite movie of all time. I would do anything to go see that on opening night back then. I wish I grew up in the freaking 70s. It'd be like
It was
you,
a good
right?
time. It would be just like me.
All right, so kind of to end this episode out, I kind of started this podcast to help inform just the student filmmakers and people that want to get into this industry. So obviously you have a very niche career and it is in the business of Hollywood. So I just wanted to ask you some certain questions that people sent in and that I prepared about just advice given to the younger generation and just anybody who wants to get in the film. So I just wanted to, first off, I want to ask, can you walk us through Film Nation's approach to like selling and acquiring international rights?
Yeah, I think the first step is on the page, right? What's the script? And just assessing from what's on the page, understanding if this movie, the best version of this movie, what's that going to be like? Because when you read a script, and you've now had the experience of doing this, reading other people's scripts, not just your own, you see in your mind's eye what you imagine it's going to look like. And usually that's like the best version of the movie, right? So, but there's a lot that takes to get from the page to the screen, and you don't always get the best version. Sometimes you get the good version, sometimes you get the not so good version. Occasionally you get the great version where what's on the screen is even better than you imagined in your head. That's pretty unusual, but it does happen. I would say that was the case with Arrival. Um, so that's where that's where you began. You said, like, the good version of this movie, will it satisfy its intended audience? And what I mean it by its intended audience is that, not every movie appeals to every type of taste. There are horror movies, there are comedies, there are dramas, all different types, and not everyone goes to see all of those. But if you look and you say, well, will this movie satisfy this kind of audience? That's step one. If it doesn't do that, well, then there's no place to go. But that's sort of step one. Then there's sort of step two, when you're looking at it through my eyes as the salesperson. Is this movie, this potential movie, with with the director that's involved and any cast, is this something that we can pre-sell, right? At all, right? And usually the answer is no. We just can't do it. We can't see a world in which distributors are going to pay money up front for this thing that doesn't yet exist.
Is that when the big celebrity actors and directors come in? Is that when that pull, is that
Absolutely,
easier to pre-sale those
sure.
type of films?
No doubt. If Denis Villeneuve is directing it and Amy Adams is starring,
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot more appealing and reduce a lot of the risk and uncertainty in the eyes of the distributors.
Gotcha.
But that's only step two. Then step three is, okay, we can pre-sell this. Well, how much can we pre-sell it for? We can say, oh, we could pre-sell this for $10 million, but the movie's budget is 50, then that's not really going to work. It's not going to make the movie pay. So it's sort of, is the project interesting and appealing? Will it satisfy its audience? Can it be pre-sold? Can it be pre-sold for a level that the movie can get made? That's kind of the stage gating that, as the salesperson, I look at a project.
So as like for writers and directors, like, what do you think we need to do to make our scripts and our movie ideas and our premises pre-saleable? Like, I know we don't have the option of getting Tom Cruise to say he wants to do this movie. Right. Like, what can we do?
So I just wouldn't focus on it. I think what your job is to focus on telling your story. telling a story that's true to you, that means something to you, and not trying to back into something, chase a fad or write for something that you think maybe could be pre-sold. It's too many moving parts. I think the focus has to be on, this is a story that I must tell and is uniquely mine. And then you could start sort of shaping it in terms of, well, who's the audience for this movie? Who's going to go see it? Is it people like me? Is it people not like me? But I think when you pander to some perceived audience, because you're trying to make something more commercial, I think it comes off as inauthentic. And it's very hard to trick an audience.
Yeah, for sure.
I think audiences can tell what's authentic
What's
and what
phony,
is
what's
not.
not. Yeah. So for your
Yeah.
job, if someone wants to, I know the way you got in is you knew the guy and you kind of built this company together. For getting into international sales, what's like some pieces of advice if someone would want to get in that side of the business?
Well, I would say first off, just knowing that it exists, right? People
Yeah.
don't know that there's a job like mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's people who are passionate about movies know about writing, they know about acting, maybe they know a little bit about directing and camera work. They may not even know what a producer really is. They hear that
Yeah.
term, but a foreign pre-sales, a business affairs person, like there's lots of roles that are around this business that you just should try to learn what exists and what doesn't exist. And you may find that your skills are actually great as a lawyer or a negotiator, or as an agent, or as a producer rather than um, as a writer. And so it's just being aware of what's out there in the ecosystem. And the way to do that, if you're young enough, and you and I talked about this, is often through internships.
Yeah.
See if you could get a job shadowing someone at a company, at a production company, at a sales company, at a finance company, at an agency, and just see what's out there and see how things get done. So that's if you think you might be interested in a role like mine. But going back to something I said earlier, I would focus. It's good to know that all this exists, but if your passion is making movies, I say just go make movies.
Yeah.
Don't worry about how it gets made. Don't worry about how it gets financed. Don't worry about the international and what's going to pre-sell in France. Um, just get better at what you're doing. Your first few scripts are going to not be as good as you hoped. Your first couple of shorts may be good, but you can see areas for improvement. It's like everything else in life. You get better at the
Better
things
and
you
better.
practice. And
Put in
so
the hours.
if you want to act, if you want to direct, if you want to write, then you should do those things. Which is easier said than done, I know, because it's hard to, make a living doing any of those
Yeah, for
things.
sure.
But you can't do it if waiting for someone to hand it to you.
Yeah, and then one of the another questions I want to ask you is as streaming services are starting to grow and theatrical as it's getting harder to get people in theaters and all this digital media and all these different things, where do you see this international business of Hollywood going? Where do you see the future of it?
Well, I'm still a believer that the story is still the king, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like, you didn't see Star Wars for the first time in the cinema.
No.
You watched it probably on, DVD or on streaming or something, and it's okay. There's multiple ways, and particularly for good movies, they'll just live on.
Mm-hmm.
And, we'll be watching it on, some cochlear some implant in your eye at some point. Like, who knows how we're going to
Yeah.
consume those things. Those are just the sort of the way that you consume it. So streaming is, in some ways, has been great. It's they've invested so much money in storytellers and getting movies made and TV shows made. Um, I'm still personally a believer in the power of the cinematic experience. There's the communal aspect of going into a cinema and being completely focused, not being distracted by your emails or pausing to go to the bathroom or take your
Yeah.
laundry out of the dryer or whatever it is. You're in a cinema, you are committed. There's the big screen, there's the sound, there's the other people laughing or gasping or jumping or whatever it might be. I think is really powerful. Now, is it the only way to experience a movie? Of course not. But it is a pretty magical way, and so you're absolutely right. It's harder in a world of so many options for entertainment to get people to leave their house and go to an appointed time to go see a movie. And so our job is to find what those stories are going to be that are compelling enough to get people out
That
and
they
go
have to go
and see
see
them.
it the weekend it comes out.
Yeah, you're just dying to see it. You've heard so much about it. It's so exciting. It's an event, and it's something you want to see with your friends and family.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. Besides, obviously making a movie where you cannot wait to see it, what can movie theaters do to get more people to show up?
The cinemas, everyone's got their job, right? The producers have got to make more exciting projects. The
Mm-hmm.
distributors have to come up with interesting marketing campaigns. The cinemas have to make the experience different and exciting. They got to be clean. They got to have good sight lines. They got to make you want to go there. Because
Yeah.
again, I'm fighting against that 60-inch high def surround sound that's in my house, and is pretty darn good. So I don't want to go to a raggedy theater, right? I want to go
Yeah.
to something that's clean and nice and feels special.
Did
But
you
so it's sort of everybody's role, but particularly the cinemas because that's their business.
did you see Sinners?
I did not see Sinners, and I'll tell you why. Because I think he's a great filmmaker, and Michael B. Jordan's a great star. Um, I am a coward. I don't like to be scared.
Oh, it's not. It
So
ain't that.
I
No,
really
no,
want to see that movie.
no.
I know the vampires, and I am. It's
Come
just not
on.
my jam. It's not my
It's
jam,
not that
and
type
I
of
also
movie.
it's not even my wife's kind of movie. So yeah, no, I know.
Yeah,
I will see it. I
I
will.
guess that has
I will.
a aspect to it. Yeah. No, it is really good. I did see it like 3 times in theaters. I got to see it in the 70 millimeter, or I got to see it in not 4D where the seat moves. It was a crazy experience, and I promise you, if I would watched that movie at home, I probably wouldn't have liked it as much. But I did go pay
Yeah,
$20 to go three times. Paid $20 to go see it. So I mean,
yeah.
just the power of just being in that room and being around a bunch of people, especially for like the superhero films when people are getting up and making noise and dressing up, like that's just it enhances the viewing of media so much.
Well, I remember, I can't remember if it was in one of the trade magazines or the New York Times or something, but Ryan Coogler wrote about making multiple versions of that film for
Mm.
different aspects,
Whoa.
all the way up to, and here's why you should see this. And so there was, I don't know, 5 or 6 or maybe possibly more. And, for people who really wanted to max out, the experience. And I thought that was brilliant. And I think it absolutely made it feel like something that you had to see and you would really want to see it in a cinema, um, at the biggest screen you possibly could.
Yeah. I know Michael B. Jordan and Coogler are very known, and I guess they're IP in itself, but that movie is so original, and it does really, it kind of gives hope for the original filmmakers, even though that these guys are known. But I mean, this is a concept he wrote, he directed it, right? The marketing was insane. You could see it everywhere. It was all over the place, and it made a lot of money. So it really does give hope for the indie films that it's still possible. If you write the right movie, people are gonna come see it.
It's true. It's true.
But one more question: what is
Bring
to
it
your remembrance? What is the best theater experience you've ever had? There's a lot. I know you've seen millions of movies. You literally, it's your
I
job to do
have.
it.
So I would say, and this is going to be a little bit of a flex, because one thing I already brought up, which was seeing the revival of Lawrence of Arabia.
Mm.
So I already brought that up. But I would say I went to Cannes a couple of years ago for work.
Mm-hmm.
And the last night I was there, I had some free time. My flight was in the morning. And I'd heard about this movie Parasite, but I didn't know much about it. And it was the world premiere, and it was in
Oh, you
the
don't say.
Palais, the big cinema
I
in
love
Cannes.
Parasite.
And I was by myself, along with 2,000 other strangers, but I didn't go with a colleague or a friend or something. It was a late night premiere. I want to say like 10 o'clock, which is late for an old man like
Yeah.
me. But it was red carpet, and I was like, oh, wait, what is this? What's this all about? I don't quite understand it, and that was just such a great experience.
Oh my god.
Just knowing nothing about it and
That's
not knowing what to expect, even once it had started, not knowing like
that's the
what
best
is
way to watch
happening
that
here.
movie. Is just
It
not
was
knowing
so
what's going
good,
on.
and again, it was with I don't know how 1,000 other people on an enormous screen, and it was great. And director Bong was there at the end, and he just said
That's
because it was late, he's
awesome.
like, "Let's go home." But it was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one
So
of my
that
favorite
was
movies I've ever seen. I went to the LA was it the Academy Museum, and I got this like storyboard script book. It's
oh
so
yeah.
cool. But yeah, I remember watching that. They made us watch that in Film 101, and they're like, don't look at anything, don't look at the reviews, don't do any of that, just watch the movie. And that the first international film to win Best Picture?
It was.
That
I
I can
think
think
it
of.
might have been like the first one in like 40 years. Like
Yeah,
it had been. Yeah.
2019,
I
right?
think. Yeah.
Around that time. Yeah, that
Yes, it was
movie's.
pre-COVID because I remember. Yeah. Yeah. That was a mind blower. That was so good.
And that was the premiere you went to? That was the first showing of it?
That was the world premiere. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa, that's dope. In Canes, France. I want to go next year. Our school has a little program to work it and go to it, so I really want to go next year. And the
Well,
Venice
I
Film
encourage you.
Festival would be dope.
Yeah, Venice is pretty nice too.
You've been to that film fest?
I have. I have.
Is that the best one?
What did I see there? I saw. Well, it's interesting because Venice is really for the industry. There's not like a lot of ordinary audience people coming to those
Yeah.
screenings. So it's sort of more of an insider thing, but it's so nice. It's on the Lido, the beach in Venice. I saw what was the name of the movie? It was Condor, which is something. It was a Netflix movie.
Oh, okay.
That was trippy. Um,
That was
Can
trippy.
is a little bit more. There's more audience outside. It is also focused on the industry, but there's more um, access for just film lovers.
Mm.
But I have two recommendations for you for festivals that are even more audience friendly. If you just want to go see as many movies as you possibly can, and they kind of make it not so difficult. One would be the Berlin Film Festival, the
Mm-hmm.
Berlinale, which is typically in February, and the other is the Toronto Film Festival,
Mm.
which is in September. Toronto, I would say, is the most audience friendly of the festivals that I have been to. they sort of make it pretty easy for folks to just see movies.
Yes, sir. Well, it was a
Let's
pleasure
check it out
having
if
you
you get a
on,
chance.
man. It was great to
Pleasure,
see your face
pleasure
for the
to see
first
you.
time. I feel like you gave us a lot of good advice, and we learned about you. We learned about the international sales of Hollywood. You'll probably be the only guest I'll ever have on with that role. So I guess kudos to you
Yeah,
for
well, I'll be
that.
curious. It looks like you have a good lineup of guests, so I'm happy to be part of it. And as I say, it just really gives a little bit of a background as to some other parts of the industry. But I'm sure you're going to have some great folks, and um, wish you all the best of luck on this.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Carney, so much. I mean, it really means the world to me.